by the Department of Defense of the Republic. At 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, multiple unidentified objects were confirmed to have entered Earth's atmosphere.
Discovery Houston, 20 seconds to LOS egress.
Contact, nice to be in orbit. The first message that comes to you is you are a divine being. You matter. You count. You come from realms of unimaginable power and light, and you will return to those realms.
The vast stretches of the unknown and the unanswered and the unfinished still far outstrip our collective comprehension.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting from Forest Tower Studios, all the way from the Deep South. Now, here is your host, Joe Root.
Broadcasting from a shack on a hill in the Mossy Creek bottoms of Cane Creek, Arkansas. This is Lighting the Void, and I'm your host, Joe Root. Welcome everybody back to the program tonight. It is Thursday night, and we are still in quarantine. But tonight, our guest is Suzanne Worthley. I want to apologize to everybody, too, in the chat. I was trying to get the flyers up, and I just couldn't log into my email. I couldn't log into anything tonight, so I'm sorry about that, guys. But we're going to talk about some pretty interesting stuff because this is actually one of my favorite subjects. You know, we're going to be talking about like death, the transitions into that, and how to deal with that. And there's actually there's some energy stuff here going on that we need to talk about as well too. And I think that it's a subject that we all kind of think about, but you know, you don't want to think about it, or we deny it, or just don't deal with it until it happens. And I'm going to ask about that too. Also, entered the Energy Healing workbook that she has, her new book, an Energy Healer's Book of Dying for Caregivers and Those in Transition. And that's the book we're going to be talking about. That's coming up shortly. I want to thank our sponsors too. God bless them, ancientlifeoil.com and getthetea.com, as well as metaphoracalarchaeology.com. Barbara's staying pretty busy and helping out a lot of people, including myself. And it's just been one amazing and crazy ride dealing with all of the stuff that I needed help with. You can give her a call at 214-995-3754 and get yourself an EFT session. And if you've had a paranormal experience that's caused you trauma, you get that free from the Fringe FM. All right? Also, head over to ufoseekers.com, backed and supported by the Fringe FM and this show as well. Give them a follow on Twitter at UFO Seekers. Watch their new episodes, youtube.com/UFO Seekers. As far as any announcements go, I don't think that we have any other than if you want to call into the program tonight, that call-in number is 1-800-588-0335. And if you want to go to the chat room, that is thefringe.fm/chat room. That's where you go. So, I got a surprise for you guys by this weekend. So all of you guys that have been donating and stuff, you're really gonna like this. Just prepare yourself. I'm not joking this time. I know you've heard me say it a few times, but I'm not joking. It's really cool. And you're gonna get your money's worth. If you want to support the show, hit the donate button, go to the shop, grab a t-shirt, send us your pictures. And these past 2 months, actually, anybody that didn't get one or is waiting still on their order, please let me know, because we had some stuff. We had like 4 or 5 orders just end up missing. So I'm trying to get them all together. I sent 2 out. We're going to send the rest of them out too. All right. So Suzanne's here. She's with us, and she's a quantum energy healing practitioner that provides several kinds of services, including personal healings, space healing, spirit work, crossing over work, clearing work, and looks like vigil, death, and dying work. And she has been a full-time practitioner since 2008. And she has been a presenter, instructor, and mentor since 2010, including energy-based presentations through her own series, community education, and college course instruction. She's also certified in various healing modalities and trained in intuitive and psychic practices since 2005. And she's been certified in hospice and death since 2009. Now, she's the author of An Energy Healer's Book of Dying, published by Findhorn Press and Inner Traditions, released March 10th of 2020. And she's been highlighted and interviewed for numerous articles in newspapers, magazines, and blogs. And she's also been on various radio programs and continues to be a guest presenter and instructor for many events and venues. She has her online community and monthly membership called the Vibe Tribe, and her website hosts several blogs, webcasts, and podcasts. She's also the producer of very special events, including retreats in Sedona, plus offers an annual spiritual tour to Peru, where she works with the shamans that have dubbed her Healer of the Sky. And you can go to her website at sworthley.com, www.sworthley.com. Thank you for coming on the program, Suzanne. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. It's good to finally connect after everything we've been trying to do here. Yeah.
Yeah. I know we had to reschedule the first time. And then I was thinking this time I got this new mail app. I was trying to get the pictures off to the flyers, and it wouldn't let me copy them. And then I deleted all the cookies on my computer, and I couldn't log into the other thing. And I was just like, this is driving me nuts. And it just, it's one of those technological downfalls that happen sometimes, it just doesn't stop. But that's over with now. But
I hear ya.
Yeah, so I really do appreciate your patience. Thank you. And
okay.
Now, with the coronavirus stuff going on right now, and all these, we're really taking like a big look at this. I think when people use death, that kind of scares a lot of us, obviously. And they're showing us the number of people that have passed on. All the spiritual people that we've talked to are saying that we're in these transition phases where we're letting go of old things and trying to be strong enough to move into this new world, there's all kinds of messages out there. But what are you feeling is going on right now?
Oh gosh. Yeah, exactly. I just did a 2-hour Vibe Tribe webcast live last week that I opened up to anybody and everybody. So we had a good couple 200 plus people on there, because I think people are very confused and very scared and very curious about what's going on. And what I basically said on that is that for anybody that's been doing this energy work of ascension for the last several years, we all know that this is not a surprise. This is something that is bigger than what we are experiencing as something called the coronavirus, that this is part of a bigger picture, and you can go down many rabbit holes if you want to with that picture, meaning full-blown conspiracy, go to whatever end of the rabbit hole you want to with that. But basically speaking, coronavirus is, in my opinion, a virus of fear right now, even more so than germs. And it has a lot to do with us being challenged in terms of this final battle, if we want to look at it that way, of ascension. And this is not something new. That's not to say that, if you don't do the ascension work, or if you're not a spiritual journey, or you don't know what's going on, it's not a validation of who's right and who's wrong, but it's a bigger picture. And there's opportunities here. There's great, awesome, beautiful opportunities to be learning about a lot of stuff. And we probably have a lot of time to talk about a lot of it tonight. And I'm really excited to be able to share.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to learn about this too. The only person that I ever talked to about passing on, was William Buellman. I think he had one program based on it, but I would be lying to you if I told you, I said, it doesn't scare me, because it does. It does. I mean, because I don't know what's on the other side. I just know there's something there. And when you do this kind of work, do you try to get people to understand what is on the other side? I mean, do you know what's on the other side, right? Like, I'm sure you've worked with this. You've spent your whole life. What's right there?
First of all, as a practitioner, I always say in everything that I do, whether I'm presenting or teaching or working with a client, I always say, I am not here to change anybody's truth. I'm not here to tell you your truth. You get to have whatever belief systems you want to, especially when it comes to your God package. I'm not here to say that this is right or wrong. I'm only here to share what I know and what I've experienced. And I've experienced death since day one. Being a daughter of a mortician, I was around death my entire life. And so whatever your parents did, as an income, as a livelihood, mine was death and dying. And so it was very common for me to have that around me 24/7. And so I grew up with I think a more open mind to that this is going to happen, obviously, to every one of us, which indeed it is. And we are either going to experience, a loved one's death and or ours within our lifetime, obviously. So this is something that was very, normal for me growing up. So I was also a little confused and concerned on why other people didn't see it as normal. And this being able to connect, the actual psychic skills kicked in later. I think the feeling of normalcy was there all along, but the psychic skills and the ability to have what we would maybe call validation came later when I reactivated psychic skills, which, by the way, I believe we all have. Whether we activate them and choose to, hone those skills or not is up to us. But as I got into more and more in-depth work with talking to those on what we would call the other side, it became very clear to me that, obviously there's more, and it's been validated time and time and time and time again. So that's kind of why I wrote the book in the first place, is because a lot of people don't possibly, A, have the belief system that that's even available to us or real, but B, don't have the potential to activate that psychic sense, that psychic skill set to be able to experience what's actually going on. And so that's kind of the angle of the book, is to let you in on what a psychic intuitive experience is besides just death. Okay.
All right. Well, that works for me. I just, I think it's interesting because I've had an out-of-body experience myself, and we've talked about that kind of thing. Had a few experiences where I wasn't sure if I'd passed away or not. And then, like false awakenings, stuff like that. And then, I think the coolest story in my life about that, though, was my grandmother who she used to tell me that she would see my grandfather sitting at the edge of her bed waiting on her,
Right, right.
And I'm like, yeah, really? Like, he's just going to wait around? And you don't really understand that kind of thing till you love somebody that much. But it's like, so when you do these kinds of things, like where you're there and someone's passing on and you kind of help them through it? Is that what you do?
Yeah, a couple of things. Grandpa isn't just kind of there and hanging around all the time, by the way. It is about, and that's adorable. It's more about that omnipresence means when we are in that space of spirit, it's not that we're hanging around, it's that intentional energy draws us in. An intention of a need or a want or a wish is what draws in Grandpa for that moment in time. And so this is available to everybody all the time. When I am doing my work as a hospice worker or an energy practitioner, especially when it comes to death, my job, as I see it, is I'm at what's called an end-of-life worker. And so because of my ability to talk telepathically, meaning I can talk in my head psychically to somebody, oftentimes I was what they would use when they were almost in a quandary as to why someone was not dying. In terms of medical, for example, patient so-and-so should be dying at this point, according to the medical realm, and yet they weren't. And oftentimes they would call me in to actually go in and find out what was going on. And that's where the skill of telepathy and being able to talk to them on a higher plane of existence to their higher self was really to the advantage of saying, hey, they're still stuck here on this earth plane because maybe they haven't made peace with relationships. Maybe they haven't made peace with letting go of their business. Maybe they haven't allowed themselves to move onward from their home, et cetera, et cetera. So me being able to, A, find that information, but then B, be able to go in and actually do the energy work on behalf of and with and for that client in their death process helps them to shut down these energy centers and then transmute or transition or transform or die easier is my job. And so, we're all going to die, but it's really awesome to be able to have some assistance, and that's kind of what I do.
Okay, so if you seem really happy about it, though, that gives me good hope. For somebody that's around the subject matter all the time, you've got really good energy and really good spirits about it. What do you think the worst thing that we can do before this is? It's just basically the fear that is the biggest thing, right?
Yeah, you nailed it. I mean, and It's not that I am flippant about death. It's just that, I mean, again, it amazes me ever since a child. I don't understand why people don't get it. We're all gonna do this. It's inevitable. It's the only inevitable thing in our life. And to be able to find a different way is part of the reason why I wrote this book also, in terms of once upon a time I was on a radio show years ago, and they're like, what is your best advice before we leave? And I said, live as if you're dying, because you're going to die as if you've been living. And that's what I'm talking about. This fear that people hang on to is the anchor that happens inside of us as an energy block, which then turns into what we would quote as dis-ease, which then would turn into disease. And disease, remember, does not have to be a physical thing. It can be stress, it can be anxiety, it can be fear itself. And this is what shuts down the body. And I write this book in a very methodical way of the death process. And I explain the chakra system in terms of we are creating our death by the way that we are choosing to live every single solitary day. So this book is not about just transitioning in death and what we can do to support that, but it's really talking about what the heck do you want to do while you're alive here to prepare yourself for a more easy and fluid death. And so when we are doing that work, we're also having a more synchronistic, easy life while we're walking around in these meat bodies. We're having a much more joyful life. And man, do we need that lesson right now, with all this fear.
Yeah, I know. It says, I would be lying to you if I'd said that it didn't affect me too. And I'm not one to give in to fear. Actually, I don't. It makes me want to go straight at it and beat it most of the time. But it's been some pretty heavy stuff. And we've been trying to keep each other entertained here at the station. But that's the best thing that we could do. You say throughout your career, though, you've discovered that everyone's got the ability to heal and reduce stress and co-create their life. That you don't need to be a born clairvoyant or be a mystic, that everyone has this ability.
That's truly my belief, because here's the deal. We are all, it's a birthright, is my opinion. It is a birthright to be able to have these, what we dub as extrasensory perception. In my opinion, that's our birthright, to have sensory perception, period. And it is our belief systems that we have grown up with that tamper that down or blow that out of the water completely by somebody or something or some message that says, hey, this crap is like scary, or don't do that, or you're going to open up that Pandora's box, and oh man, you stepped into something dangerous. And all that crap that we hear throughout our upbringing tampers that down, and we don't believe that this stuff is even real, much less our birthright. And so we are all born with it. Now, that said, we are all born with the ability to sing, but not all of us can really sing. And so this, again, is not judgment or validation of somebody better than the other, but some of us can sing and some of us can really sing. Some of us can learn how to sing better, and some of us just can sing. So it is definitely got different levels of skill factors attached to it, if that makes some sense.
Yeah, it does. It does make sense, and I think we block ourselves from this stuff too. When you know what I've been having kind of an issue with, and maybe you can help on this because you're kind of tapped into this stuff, is trying to discern the difference between my intuition and the ego. And what I've been learning, and I'm learning it the hardest way imaginable in life, actually, is that when you do things in love, the intuition's kind of on fire, and then I think when you do things in fear, like the ego just is there. And I've been trying to figure out which one to listen to before I actually just decide what I'm going to step into, I think. And that's probably one of the biggest issues there. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think one of the biggest things that I've trained in and taught classes for many, many years is the meat body, the meat and bone vehicle that you decided to step into, because it is a choice. I mean, obviously there's a sperm and an egg involved, but your consciousness, your higher self soul, chose to drop into a meat and body experience. And the premise of the meat and body experience is about sentience, meaning it's a feel. And the problem is that most human beings have been trained to use their think versus their feel. And the beauty of being a human in full alignment with higher guidance is that we have the ability to know within that meat and bone, because of the feel. It's the aha moment. It's that alignment of, I just know. And the hard part about that is, again, the human wants to be validated from outside sources. We're trained to go, oh, you're going to validate my truth. I'm going to go to the internet. I'm going to ask my mom. I'm going to ask the professor. Wikipedia is going to tell me, etc. And so when we learn to let go of all of the outside validation and learn to retrain ourselves to retreat inward, to then align with our truth in terms of the meat body says, you know this. That's when we start to get a really synchronistic relationship with higher self. So it is not necessarily easy because we've been very unprogrammed or deprogrammed out of this skill set. And that's when the monkey mind takes over. And this is not happening by accident. I mean, we have been a programmed culture from the beginning for eons and eons and eons. And by the way, that's part of this ascension process that we were talking about at the top of the show, is that this is what's changing. This stuff is what is changing right now in a big macro way. So it's full alignment to higher self and God source. And again, God isn't a guy in a cloud for me. It's an infinite source of energy that we have a birthright to align with, to co-create. So
well, how do we get this over with? You know what I mean? Like, what do we do here? Because I'm tired of being cooped up, you know, and I mean, I feel like we're doing it to ourselves a little bit. I know that sounds crazy to a skeptic, but, you know, as within, so without. So I think it's like, what do we got to do?
How do we get the COVID over with? Or there's just this whole ascension stuff?
Yeah, spiritually, like how do we move? Like, I'm so ready to move through this, honestly. Just move through it. I guess I'm impatient, maybe. You know, but
if I were on the webcast that I just did the other night, I did it with a big whiteboard, and you know, I drew a lot of pictures because this is tough for people. I drew a picture of a little stick man, and then I had a line under him like a road, and then I put a big X. And if you can envision that, we're the little stick man with the little road ahead of us, and we got that X, and we want everything over. We want it done. I want to get the job. I want to have the partner. I want to have the promotion. I want to buy the car, etc. What we do is we put our energy outward, and we put our energy at that ending. And we are constantly doing this in a multitude of ways. And this is extremely dangerous in terms of there is no ending. It isn't over, because when it is over, with quotes around it, there will be another it, and then another it, and then another it. Because what we do is we don't know how to stay present, which is the gift, staying present with the energy. And we co-create in that present moment, and we then release it to universe to come to fruition. But we humans instead think, oh, I've just got to control the crap out of everything. And when I get to this end, then everything's going to be okay. But it doesn't, because it's a release of power, energy in an ego way, in a fear way. This COVID thing that we're having right now is actually a huge gift in terms of separation of source, meaning separating in social distancing, staying in my house, being alone, finding quiet time, absolutely having all of the things that are detracting my energy taken away from me to some extent, only to find, oh my God, I have nothing to do. This gives us a sense of frustration, when in reality it's the gift of finding quiet. It's the gift of finding peace. It's the gift of going inward. So it's very symbolic or metaphoric of what this whole entire journey is offering us, is to go inside one's self to then find the quiet space to go, what is my real truth? Because I'm the one that's creating this. I'm the one that's creating how I perceive life, how I see reality, how I'm actually interacting and co-creating. I'm in charge of this. So this is an opportunity for us to actually reshift and rebalance, and everyone just wants it over. And I'm actually thrilled to stay in it, because I'm watching my clients, my family, and my friends finally finding creativity again, finally finding peace of mind and releasing stress and depression and angst, if they can find the flow in this pattern, if that makes some sense.
Yeah, it does. It makes a lot of sense. I don't know that I'm getting there myself. I think a lot of us are just trying to, I think a lot of us are just trying to learn to listen to all this, and just, good God, man, we resist it so much. I think, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
because you know why? Because we want to be told what to do, because we love being sheep. And when we finally figure out that that's a bunch of crap, that we really, really, really don't need to be sheep, that we really, truly, in our heart of hearts, want to be creative, wonderful creators, co-creators, we want to have this rebel inside of us of creativity. But it feels easier to be the sheep. It feels easier for you to tell me, take this and you'll feel better. Eat this and it'll be over. Do this and everything will be fine. When in reality, that's never ending. I will always source out to anything and everybody to give my power away if I work like that. So that battery is always running out. Whereas when we flip that narrative, when we go inside and we work within, that's omnipresent. It never runs out because I'm filling my own tank every day, all day, every day. This whole entire experience that we are having right now with COVID has a lot to do with a lot of the things that I write in the book in terms of understanding my chakra system and my especially auric field, my aura, my auric field, my bubble. Because the bubble that we carry around us, which is like our gas tank, holds our own individualized perception of reality. It holds my fuel. It holds my consciousness. It holds my connection to source. And we humans have been giving that away to everything and everybody for eons. And we have not figured out that I need to, on an energetic basis, keep my own energy first. And we've been trained that, oh my God, that's selfish. That's horrible. I can't come first. And energetically speaking, you have to. And so this is actually forcing us to have a separation of those energy auric bubbles because we're staying 6 feet away from each other, which, by the way, is your auric field. And I'm having the potential to then go, this is my true feel, or this is my true thought, or this is my true frequency. And we're having this gifted to us right now. So this is a huge opportunity for us to reboot, but no one's teaching us much about this. So I'm really thrilled that you're talking about it tonight. And maybe it will get out a little bit more that this is an opportunity.
Fantastic. Yeah, I totally agree. But sometimes it feels like an internal death is happening too, though.
Yeah.
But that's part of it, I guess. We'll be right back. Suzanne Worthley, stay with us.
Listen, now is not the time to fear. When your immune system is strong, shields up. You have very little worries. If your immune system is compromised, you're susceptible to all viruses. I say shields up and no fear. Try Heart Love from GetTheTea.com. Heart Love has a special ingredient called allicin. It comes from the healing part of the garlic plant. No garlic breath. No garlic leaking out your pores, just pure immune-building ingredients that gets your shields up. Heart Love is a unique blend of herbs that loves to build you up. Google garlic and know the benefits. One Heart Love pill is equal to 20 cloves of garlic. 20 cloves. Shields up. You've heard of our Life Change Cleansing Tea at GetTheTea.com. Now try Heart Love. And by the way, take your blood pressure and watch weekly what happens. So here's how to purchase. Log on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com and build your shields. That's GetTheTea.com. Mention Ray in the coupon code and hit apply and receive free shipping.
This is Barbara Charlton from Metaphorical Archaeology. If you've ever had a traumatic paranormal experience, the effects of it may stay with you for years. Who do you talk to? You can't go to conventional help. What we do is we use emotional freedom techniques or tapping to actually neutralize the effects of that event. Maybe when you tell the story now, your heart races and your palms get sweaty. You don't even want to think about it because you don't know how to neutralize that. That's what EFT tapping does. It neutralizes those emotions. The circuit that was recorded on is gone. The energy flows freely and you're free of it. And that's what emotional freedom is all about. We offer this as a pro bono service, but this is something that I offer because no one, it seems, is helping people with these experiences. If you'd like to reach me, it's really easy. My cell phone is 214-995-3754. Please leave a message. I will get back to you as quickly as possible. Or you can email me, barb.eft@gmail.com. And EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. Reach out to me. It's confidential. This works. You won't believe the results.
All right, man. This is Crow 777, and you are listening to The Fringe FM.
Roy,
like me old Chinas? I know it's an ad break, but before you lot shoot off and make yourself a cup of Rosie Lee or whatever else it is you're going to sling down your Gregory Peck, you need to listen to me babble. If, like me, you found your way to Light in the Void via a downloadable podcast, you might want to take a butcher's at the Fringe FM Wind and Kite. You won't Adam and Eve how many other shows there are or what they rabbit on about. Ancient history, conspiracy, the consciousness, the esoteric, the occult, metaphysics, parapolitical, ufology, technology and spirituality, to name but a few. They got featured hosts like Ryan Gable, Jeremy Scott, Alex Exum, Tim Doyle, Cortana and Gigi, Susanna Ross, the Reverend John Polk, Michael Deacon and J.D. Lewis. You might find yourself listening to the thoughts and theories of the author of The Fish you just finished reading. Or you could pick up the dog and bone, call in and tell everyone your own beliefs or experiences. So do me a favour, before you put on the Ansel or crack open a bottle of vino or roll a joint, go to the Fringe FM and see what you're missing.
From a cave in the depths of your mind, it's Light in the Void with Joe Root.
The Fringe FM isn't just a radio station. We also provide services for all your audio production needs. If you are interested in live radio or pre-recorded podcasts, we're here to help. We even do audio enhancements and voiceovers if needed. If you want to do a podcast or live radio show and even want the option to syndicate on terrestrial radio, from simple audio file enhancement to live production and call screening, we have you covered. We have worked with some of the best professionals in the business in order to provide coaching instruction for content creation, show structure, and more. Contact The Fringe Digital Media for more at info@thefringe.fm. That's info@thefringe.fm. Or call 501-777-5631 for a consultation.
Hey, I'm J.M. DeBoard, and when I want to talk about dreams, I look up my man Joe Root and his show, Lighting the Void.
You're listening to Lighting the Void. The call-in number is 1-800-588-0335. If you would like to text, you can text in at 501-777-5631.
Suzanne Worthley's our guest tonight. You can go to the website, sworthley.com. And Suzanne, I want to talk about your book. I mean, that's what we need to talk about, too. Should have talked about that first, but that's okay. Your book is out. The title of it is pretty interesting. It's all about the transitional period, right? So you've got this book about caretakers. I want to say an energy healer's book of dying for caregivers and those in transition. And you can get that on the website, too, at sworthley.com. As a caregiver, is that a job worth doing? I mean, that's something that I thought about. I actually thought about doing that once. And I don't know if it was because I had like a fascination with death. I wanted to do it for the right reasons. I wanted to do it to help people. But I slowly realized I wanted to know, kind of what happens during that phase. And so I backed away from it, kind of did radio type stuff. So, yeah, because I just didn't think it was right.
There's still time, Joe. It's still time. I don't, when I had that subtitle, I don't specifically mean it has to be a professional caregiver, because during the death process, anybody is caregiving, meaning if my mom is dying, I don't even have to be sitting in the hospital, doing a vigil. I'm still giving care. It's a pretty open statement, but when you're referring to somebody that's actually doing a professional and or volunteer basis of caregiver like I did, it's a very special job. And, give it a shot if you ever choose to on a volunteer basis, or just sit with it, because to me, I have since the beginning felt so incredibly privileged is the word, and honored to be able to sit with someone during such an incredibly miraculous situation. And it has never scared me. Again, growing up around death, I was never scared of death anyway, but to be able to be in the room when someone is transmuting or transitioning back to source for me has been an honor. And to be able to sit with families, to be able to communicate to them that, things that they don't possibly know about their loved one because they may be non-communicative or, not able to speak at that point or, in possibly semi-coma or whatever and not being able to articulate. I have been so incredibly honored and privileged to be able to go in telepathically and say, hey, he or she wants you to know this, or we've got Grandpa so-and-so in the room at the edge of the bed here. I mean, all of those things have been so delightful for me, and I'm not making light of death. I'm making people hopefully understand that it's an honor and it's awe-inspiring is what it is. It's miracles.
Yeah, it is. I think it's, I always imagine like passing away sometimes. I do. I think about it. Probably I used to obsess about it actually, but I think about, being real scared and then, going through that phase, and the next thing you know, everything is not as bad as you thought it was. Kind of like you get that vibe of like, oh, that's what that was, I'm okay now. It can't be near as devastating as birth. I mean, come on, look what happens to us when we were born, right? So it can't be that
Good
bad.
Point. Good point.
Yeah. So what do we do? Like, say, if we have family members right now, because I do have a couple of friends that have some family members that apparently have tested positive for this virus, and they're all really afraid. It's like they're afraid they're going to die before it even happens, and right. I try to tell them, I'm like, look, you can't think about that stuff. You can't do that, because you don't want to say, don't think about that, because you're going to manifest it. That'll freak them out even more, right? So what do you usually tell people?
Yeah, and again, that it's hard, because when we say, oh, you're going to manifest that, here's the deal. I try to teach it this way. This is a good graphic. The way that our brains work, we stick out thought patterns. And if you can just draw a little smiley head in your vision right now, a little head, and maybe the smile isn't there. Maybe it's got the, oh my God, mouth, like, oh, I'm so upset, I'm so worried, or the frown because I'm scared. If we have a thought pattern, that thought pattern goes out of our head like a vertical line. Oh my God, he or she is going to die. And then I put an emotion to it, which then crosses at a horizontal. Oh, I'm so scared and my belly gets sick. And then I put out two more thoughts. Oh my God, he is going to die. He might die tomorrow. And then I have three more emotions. I'm sick to my stomach. My throat is closing. And we start to create up and down lines, which then start to look like what? They start to look like a grid. They start to look like a grid, which is how things are created in emotions and thoughts. It's a grid of energy that starts to then gather like-minded energy. So I can't help somebody die by obsessing about it, but I certainly can put into the grid more potentiality for that to find like finds like. Because energy only is, and energy finds more of the same. It's the law of attraction. It's one of our universal laws. And so what we don't want to do is put in what we don't want, because the energy of the law of attraction does not have a discernment process that says, oh, I think she really doesn't want him to die. All that hears is die, 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 die. So therefore, like finds like finds like finds like. It supports the potentiality more. Are you following that?
Yeah, I think I am.
Okay. So this is super important for people to understand. So the more I obsess and I worry, the more that gives it potentiality. I can't make it happen because that higher self of that person is going to choose, but it certainly gives it more credence or more ability to find like. What I try to tell a person is do the exact opposite. Put into the grid pattern what I want, not give attention to what I don't. So I want whatever's for that person's highest and best good. Now, here's where it gets sticky, and I write about this in the book in some case studies because I had to learn this the hard way as well as a healer. We sometimes, as an individual human person, project our wants on others because we look at it through our own eyes, and we think that we know what is right for somebody. And when it comes to death and dying, that is not our call. For all we know, that person came here to die at this age, and COVID is their exit plan. And we don't have a right to that part of their life and their soul contract. So in the book, I write a lot about soul contracts and Akashic records, and this is a hugely important process, not just for death, but for life itself, in terms of we each individually come in with all kinds of things in our soul contract that say, this is what I'm coming in, when I'm coming in, how I'm coming in, who I'm coming in with, and this is when I'm going out and how I'm going out. And I don't just have one exit plan, by the way, I have multiples, so I can adjust those accordingly. But we do not have the right to stomp on somebody else's plan by saying, oh, he should have been here longer, he didn't get married, or he didn't have kids, or he didn't do this, or he didn't do that. We do that through our lens of what we think, not honoring the fact of what their higher self came in to actually do.
Yeah.
Do you understand how really different that is?
Yeah, but then again, like I feel like if I could have a conversation with my higher self, I'd be like, look, man, there's some of this stuff I didn't agree to. You know, like there's no way that I agreed to this. And I think there's a disconnect there that I got to figure out how to get to it.
Okay, because again, if you were my client, I would say, yeah, you did. You didn't agree to it possibly from your third dimensional self here with an ego attached to it, but your higher self placed you in those situations for, and I hate to use the word lessons because it's not really the right word, but it's the easiest one to use when we're in 3D here. You placed yourself in this existence, in this creational reality, in this meat body existence for the lessons to be learned that you came in to do. And so, and it's not, again, lessons, it's really opportunities. It's situational opportunities more than what we would call lessons. So we would say things like, oh, I didn't sign up for abuse as a child. And I would say, yes, you did. And people hate when I say things like this. And it's not that I want to come in and be abused as a child, but from a higher perspective, for whatever reason, I have a co-contract with that abuser and as the abusee, it's a co-contract to set that stage for me to have an infrastructure of experiences, creational realities, so that I then have the opportunity to move through that and find something different throughout my life experience, so that I do not get stuck in a victim program, that I understand that, wait, I did sign up for this for a higher purpose, therefore I get to move through this, let this go, and make differences in my life. And so this is the journey that we have when we start to understand Akashic Records and soul contracts. And that also has to do with life. I would not sign up for losing my mom when I was 7, and I would say as a practitioner, yes, you did. Because whatever you signed up for in your contract has lessons or experiences to be learned on abandonment, for example, or mothering or nourishment or whatever. So these things are a really different way to look at it, and perspectives change, and we lose that victimization as we move through this, and we regain our personal sovereignty and power in our higher self connection. It's a hard thing to learn because a lot of people don't like that. They want to be happier being pissed off.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, I mean, I have tried to manifest things in my life where I feel like, okay, I'm ready for this now, you know. And this could be anything. It could be a job, career, anything. And what ends up happening, and for some reason, I heard you say earlier, victim program, right? And for some reason, what ends up happening is I get teased with it, like to the very edges of tease, and then and then it's gone, or it's like worse each time, and I'm like, why can't I just break through this thing? You know, because it wasn't true alignment. Because your ego self thinks that you want something, and your higher self knows better, and it's to honor your higher self's guidance and wisdom, and not let the ego down here. So, for example, I once upon a time was offered a television opportunity, and it was in the works, and we were talking, and I said to my higher self, please let me know if this is in alignment with my highest and best. Of course, Suzanne's ego, 3D person down here walking around, is like, hey, that'd be pretty cool to be on a TV series. Yeah, that'd be awesome, right? And shit hit the fan, and it went to just crap, and everything went down the drain. And if I wasn't doing this kind of work, I would have thought, oh, everything happened. What was me? It was a victim. And in reality, I'm like, boy, got out of that one because I got the opportunity to see the true colors of the scenario that would have played out. And I get to trust that never would have played out for my highest and best. And that situation moved out of the way to let something else more divine come in.
That's how it works differently.
Right. Well, so what do we do then when these things happen? We just kind of go with the flow in a way, right? Or no?
It's not necessarily always go with the flow. I do believe we need to be continually manifesting, but more so what we need to do is release any manifestation to our highest and best at this time. That's the caveat. This is released for my highest and best good at this time, because it might not be my highest and best in 3 years, or it might not have been my highest and best 3 years ago. But at this time, if something comes to fruition or not, that's the alignment I'm looking for. And then we release it, and we know that divine guidance and situations will bring it in as per it should from a higher place. This is when all of a sudden I'm standing in the coffee shop and somebody says, hey, did you hear this? And then you say, hey, what about that? And boom, boom, and it all falls together in synchronistic ways. That's how divine guidance happens, when we let go of it and surrender to the higher source. So some people could call that prayer. I think of prayer way differently in the work that I do. I think prayer is very real and very strong, but for me, prayer is manifestation and frequency. Prayer is like finding like in law of attraction, etc. But prayer is definitely real to bring things into alignment. I don't pray that somebody up there is going to do something for me. I think it's a collaboration of energy.
Yeah, I have prayed that for certain things, but not too specific, like broadly. But I get what you're saying. So now that we're in this thing, and a lot of everybody's going through this phase, what do you think is going to be on the other side of this? You got any predictions just based on your intuition?
Yeah, and let's stay with that prayer for a minute, because right now there's a lot of opportunity for prayer here. And, my mom is adorable. We grew up Catholic, and her old Catholic ways are like, hey, Susie, so-and-so's sick, and, pray for them to get better because they have cancer. And I would tell her no, and she would get so mad at me, and she'd say, what do you mean no? And I would say, I'm not going to pray for so-and-so to get better, because my version of their better might not be their highest self's version of better. And that is really, really spelled out in one of the case studies in the book by a gentleman named Rick. I learned very hard and fast and strong that my version of somebody's getting better is not necessarily Source's version. And sometimes Source's version of a miracle healing and getting better is dying. So during this COVID thing, there may be multiple people whose higher version is to get out of a meat body situation right now, is to leave planet in terms of meat body, because their soul has something else to do. And if you believe in that, which I fully do, that our soul does more things and we do reincarnate and we go other places and spaces, because I talk to so many beings there, we've got stuff to do. And it's not just here in 3D meat body. And oftentimes we need very powerful people to leave planet so that they can actually do things on a higher and bigger scope on behalf of the all. And we only want them here because it makes our life and our situation more comfortable. It's very, sometimes these death journeys are very selfishly looked at in terms of, I want you here. Now, I'm not making fun of that, because we're humans. And yeah, if somebody dies in my world tomorrow, I'm going to be the same way to some extent, but I have always known since I've walked this earth that they have a right to go. They have a right to die from a higher perspective. And so there will be many, many people leaving planet, because there's a lot of reasons that we're leaving planet. And that part of that is that this planet needs to shift. We need to understand in a mass consciousness what's going on. We need to understand that we have been in each other's auric fields this entire time, and we have been killing ourselves with fear. And we need to reclaim our sovereignty, and we need to reclaim our planet. And this is a huge project that has been going on from a very high scope for many, many, many years. And again, that's what we refer to as the ascension process. But, we're being told right now, watch your immune systems. I mean, you had a really great commercial on during the break from the tea company, Hard Love, immune systems, get your shields up. Well, as a practitioner, I've been telling that to people for years. Get your bubble on, get your auric field in good shape. Your immune system is held by your auric field and your chakras. And we don't even know that. We'll drink tea or take a pill, but we haven't done the work to have personal sovereignty and freedom because we have an aura that holds our consciousness, for God's sakes. This is stuff we should be learning, and we should be living, and we should be holding our own. And instead, what do? We vampire each other. We take each other's stuff. We take each other's power. We take each other's pain. We're crossing into each other's fields all day long. And this is the mess we've got into as a human race, because now we're all controlled and power and have no power. So it's a big fat mess that we're in, that we're undoing, compliments of, sadly, a pandemic. I mean, and I'm not being flippant about this. Don't get me wrong. It's a very sad and scary thing, but it's a byproduct of the mess that we're in.
Yeah, I know. I feel that you're right about that too. I really do. And I hope that we all kind of get through it. But I mean, working on
we need to wake up is what we need to do. This is not get through it. It's wake up.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good thing. Yeah. I need to be more, I need to wake up too. Cause that's what I feel like. Seriously. I feel like, man, we just sit here and go, well, okay, when's this going to be over? You turn on the news and go, okay, when's this going to be over? And not doing anything about it, like not going inside ourselves and not doing any of the work, and
Yep, and multitudes of people are missing that opportunity. Now, at the very same time, and again, this is not judgment, mind you, but there are multitudes of people doing the work on behalf of the all. And this is the spiritual work of worldwide meditation and holding prayer again. And prayer doesn't have to be the old Catholic, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be my name, blah, 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 that kind of a thing. Yeah. It's holding intention. It's holding intentional energy fields for things to happen to fruition of highest and best again. And so this is surrendering to the highest good. And sometimes on behalf of the highest good, people do sacrifice not only just their time, their money, their efforts, their pain, their whatever, but they sacrifice their so-called life. But that isn't even a sacrifice either if we read the book and understand that life is not even what we think and death is not even what we think either, because we don't go anywhere. We just transmute and transition. And that's part of the reason why I wrote this, is to don't fear the death of anything, much less the human body, because we fear everything in death. Death of the job, death of the relationship, death of my awesome body that I had 5 years ago, right. Death of, we death of my cool hair because I'm losing it. I mean, we are so scared of dying 24/7 about everything. So therefore we are susceptible to being programmed constantly because we fear this ultimate unknown. So it's getting back to this thing of learn from nature. This stuff is right in front of us every single day. Dormancy is good. Going in and dying for a season is great because you do get to come back and rebirth. And we don't all have to leave planet and die, but we certainly can reboot during this time period and readjust and take our power back.
That sounds like a plan to me. I'd love to take my power back, right? It does. I mean, I think we thrive on relations too, relations, relationships, friendships, family, all this kind of stuff. When you hold people and they can't be social, it does start, you can see how it really starts messing with the mind, like it really starts getting to the mind. So I can only imagine what it's like for prisoners.
But this is another mind screw, Joe. And again, why the book is important. There's one part in there where I talk about talking to a patient telepathically when they were dying. And I fully got the information and understand that even in the death process, they do what we would call flybys. They go out of their body and they go visit their loved ones all the time. And this is why multitudes of people have that, oh, I know Grandma died and I wasn't even there. I was halfway across the country and I had a dream or I had a feeling or I had a knowing. You didn't have a dream, a feeling, or a knowing. You had a flyby. I mean, they have the ability in soul to go out and be omnipresent. We don't have to be dying to do this. This is just like my kid being at college. I have the ability to know in my heart that my kid is having great and wonderful experiences, and I cultivate that, and I can speak to her or him through my heart, or I can sit in my house being sad and pissed off because I'm all alone and my kid is gone. These are choices that we have every day, all day, to be able to connect with people through our heart space and our telepathic space on an ongoing basis, dying or not dying, but certainly in the death process. So even in COVID, we are separated from our families. We are separated from those in nursing homes. We are separated, period. And this is the experimental time to activate these psychic senses to be able to have faith that this is real and cultivate that skill set so faith becomes a normal. And this is an opportunity again, but we're just so freaking comfortable being these sheep, being pissed off and scared and waiting patiently for someone to throw me my magic pill at the end to say, take this and everything's going to be fine. And that's only going to perpetuate the same bull that we've been living in for eons.
Yeah, amen to that, right?
Right?
I totally agree with you, yeah. All right, so we're at the top of the hour with our guest, Suzanne Worthley. We'll be right back. If you got any questions, you can call in 1-800-588-0335. Also, go to the Fringe FM Discord, thefringe.fm/chat room. We'll be right back.
The Fringe FM.
Are you intrigued by paranormal talk radio? You'll love the new paranormal radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app. Free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Hey, this is No Way Jose, a Northern California Piscean stuck in the Arizona desert. I'm a void walker, and I got the shoes to prove it. So what do I do when my soul yearns to delve deep into the realm of the unknown? I aim my satellite straight into the night sky and catch a smooth ride on the KTLK-DB radio waves. I tune into Lighting the Void with Joe Roop on the Fringe FM.
Joe, Lighting the Void is the best show on the planet. This is Barney, your friend from Facebook. Thank you and all the crew for all you do. Namaste, my friend.
This is Macon from the foothills of North Carolina, and I am a void walker.
G'day, void walkers. This is Lily from down under Australia. The world may be small, the enigma is greater. So let your curiosity take you for a journey with Joe Roop.
Hey, this is V, coming in from Central Maryland, and I am a void walker.
This is Kevin Doherty, a beginner void walker. I'm from Vancouver, BC. I know a little about a lot, and as Leonard Skinner said, I'll guess the rest. I learned a lot from Mr. Roop on the show, and heard it from the beginning. I knew right then he was going to be a New York Bell. Thanks for all your shows, and keep it up.
Hey, this is Derek from Mass, a.k.a. the Night Stalker, and I'm a void walker.
This is Mark from Chicago, and I walk the void to ascertain what is consciousness.
My name is Jared Johnson, and I'm from Humboldt County, California. I do not know all the answers to the questions about reality. I do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden as a part of a family of explorers of consciousness. I'm a void walker. Thanks, Joe Roop.
I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to The Fringe FM.
Hey, is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
Have you ever seen an ad or banner which brought you a feeling that someone is reading your mind or even listening to your conversations? Your online data is being used against you. Surfshark is a VPN service that makes online privacy protection easy and attainable. You can use it on as many devices as you'd like simultaneously. Surfshark encrypts all internet traffic sent to and from your devices and ensures that your IP address remains hidden. The VPN service that we use at UFO Seekers plus 1 month free for $1.99 a month. Visit surfshark.deals/seekers.
We all have that story to tell in our lives. The winds were howling, the ground shook, you could hear rushing water, and then history repeats itself. When there's no power, refrigeration fails, stores with their shelves stripped bare, ATMs can't operate, deliveries stop. Then what? These events can last days or weeks. You need a plan. In statements made during recent interviews, FEMA Administrator Brock Long has repeatedly urged all Americans to understand three truths. FEMA is broke, the system is broken. If this is the new normal, Americans can't rely on federal cavalry when disaster strikes. Don't get caught out in the elements empty-handed. Prepare with us by going to preparewiththefringe.com and get your 2-week food supply. 92 servings, 8 food varieties with 25-year shelf life. Normally $137, now only $75. Or get a month's supply, normally $247, now only $147, shipped in one business day. Just go to preparewiththefringe.com or call 888-440-7931. That's 888-440-7931. Get this great offer and be prepared while it lasts.
Hey, Fringe listeners, this is Dave Cruz, host of Beyond the Strange Radio, asking you to join us live Sunday evenings at 7 p.m. Pacific Time, 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Fringe FM. Visit beyondthestrange.com for links to chat, social media, and schedules of the show. And remember, always stay strange. Hasta.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Hey, Fringe listeners, this is Dave Cruz, host of Beyond the Strange Radio, asking you to join us live Sunday evenings at 7 p.m. Pacific Time, 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Fringe FM. Visit beyondthestrange.com for links to chat, social media, and schedules of the show. And remember, always stay strange. Hasta.
Somewhere between abnormal and paranormal, there's a show called Into the Paranormal. I'm Jeremy Scott. Hear me live Saturdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern on the Fringe FM.
Toll free from the United States or Canada. You're listening to Lighting the Void Radio.
All right, welcome back to Lighting the Void. I'm your host, Joe Roop. We are live on the Fringe FM, KTLK Digital Broadcasting. You guys go over to getthetea.com, especially in Ancient Life Oil right now. There's the biggest deals they've ever had. They have a subscription service there now. Just make sure, like, when you sign up in the box, check the Fringe FM. They might actually put Joe Roop there. Sometimes they put Joe, sometimes they put the Fringe FM. Just look for it, and that way we can give credit to the show and thank our sponsors too. So Suzanne Worthley's here with us tonight, and I think what I wanted to talk about next is this process that I believe I've talked about on the show quite a bit, is alchemy. And I just look at alchemy as like this energetic transmutation from lead to gold, from darkness to light, from, fear to love. And the way that it's worked out for me in my life is through family and relationships. And I got to tell you, it's a painful process, but when I recognize it, I think I start to grow from it when I can actually stop and recognize what's happening. Now, I have talked to, since this COVID-19 thing happened, probably 12 different people about this and there's so many people going through this right now. What would you say to those people that are really going through some bad, like weird, hardcore relationship energy type stuff?
Mm-hmm. When we have something like COVID, what it does is it triggers all of the deep-rooted belief systems. And when we really learn about the chakra system, which I really pretty much explain in the book, the chakra system itself is like energy destination points in our body that fuel our energetic body, our energy body, which then is a blueprint for our meat and bone existence in terms of physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. So this is like where the gasoline of my consciousness comes in. The first two chakras are very important for this particular subject matter. The first chakra being my root chakra, which is designed, by the way, for this meat body to be connected to the planetary system itself, to have a relationship with the planet. And we don't even think like that. People don't even have a clue of what I'm talking about when I say something like that. But in essence, you've picked to come into a meat body experience in the human world in relationship with a planet called Mother Earth or Gaia. And we don't know that. That's what this root chakra is about, is to have that nourishment, that connection, that safe, that mothering. And we don't even activate that or understand that. And instead, sadly, we reactivate this chakra very early, even in utero, by the way, in terms of what we perceive is safe from everybody else's vision. So moms and dads, grandmas and grandpas, uncles, teachers, siblings, neighbors, enemies, doesn't matter. I'm picking up consciousness cues from day one, even in utero, to stick into this consciousness container if I'm safe or not. And so we equate safe to a job, money. This is what's happening with COVID. Oh my God, I don't have any money. Oh my God, I'm going to lose my house. I don't have any food. I'm not safe. I'm not safe. And the reality is this is all a false matrix. We are safe in terms of our consciousness reality when we are conscious, when we are here, when we are in our body. The very second chakra above that is in our belly, and this is our emotions chakra. That first one is our physical chakra of safe, fight or flight. The second one is emotions, feelings, and passions and desires and relationships. So this is the chakra in our belly where our guts are off. This is where we think we are supposed to be with someone in order to be complete. Again, a falsehood, because we are not designed to be with someone to be complete. We are designed to be complete within ourselves, and someone else is only the frosting on the cake. But we have not been taught frosting on the cake with a partner. We've been taught that partner is our butter, our flour, our sugar, our everything, and I can't have my cake without that partner because I'm not complete. And this has been driving humanity insane since the beginning, because the reality is we're supposed to be understanding to have relationship doesn't necessarily even have to do with a meat body. It has to do with myself to source and my planet, and understanding that there is all kinds of things from plants to trees, to wind, to water, to benevolent beings, to angelics, to people who have died, to, anything and everything out there is my relationship group. And we are so limited as humans because we think, if I don't do that stuff, if I don't get married, if I don't have those kids, if I don't have that house, if I don't have that dog. So these belief systems are killing us because we think that we're not safe. And when we are in a situation where life is threatened, we'll go back and we'll trigger these primal needs that we think we have to have in order to be safe. It's a primal wound of the human since day one that has been in our DNA, and it's very, very real, and it's actually very, very false. Does that make any sense?
And it's deep. Yeah.
So the really great thing about COVID is this, again, gives me the opportunity to realize I'm stuck in the house with so-and-so, and I have choices. I can see every horrible thing about my spouse or my partner or my kid. I can lose my mind because I feel like I'm in a jail. I can go down that whole route and trigger everything that's wrong. Or I have a different pair of glasses that I'm looking through, and I say, okay, this gives me an opportunity to have creativity and see different ways to find space, to find alone time, to have creative ways to talk to the loved ones that I can't get to in meat body form again. And on this goes. But we are so freaking filled with fear that we don't give a crap about creativity. And that's, again, what we're missing in the beauty of this whole experience going on right now.
Now, see, that's something... I'm going to be honest with you. That's something that I realized a few years ago. Actually, okay, it's not the person, it's the experience that I want. And I would love to have this experience with a person until that experience is no longer, needed. That could be, for a while or the rest of my life. But here's what happens is then you run into somebody that you kind of knocks your socks off. And then I think it triggers that program. Like, I wonder if these programs are ever truly gone. You know?
Oh, they're really hard. I'm telling you, they are really hard because they are ingrained in every body of our aura, meaning they're ingrained physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Yeah. But more so, they are with us in collective consciousness. So that means even if Joe does a whole lot of work to clean that system up, clean his own matrix up. Think of yourself more like a computer. If you got all your viruses out, if you got all your programming on track, you still get hit with a collective virus. It still comes in because we are one with the all. So even in Corona, if I'm doing pretty well and I'm doing okay, and oh my God, if I sit down and watch that world news 5 times in a week, all of a sudden I'm right back there in the fear pit because I slipped into that crap because everybody else did. And this is a very powerful thing, but it works both ways. We also can tweak the collective by holding our own individual love and light frequencies. So this is another thing that I teach clients in terms of many people say, oh, everything's so horrible right now. I don't even watch the news. I'm not watching the news. I won't watch the news. And again, I'm not telling people what to do, but I tell my clients I would exactly do the opposite, because by you sitting there saying, I'm not watching the news because it's all horrible and I don't want to hear all that, you are absolutely watching the news by not watching the news, meaning you are sucking into everything that is fear-based on the news and you're getting news bites everywhere around you, and it's still working that collective, filling it with fear. What I do when I watch the news is I stand in front of the TV, and this is true, and I'm telling you I really do this. I stand there and I watch the news and I say, okay, yes, hundreds died today, and that's sad. And I give solace or prayer or emotion or empathy or compassion into that just for a moment. I let this Suzanne meat body feel the compassion and the pain just for a moment, because this is how we're designed to do this work. Then I stand strong and I look at that television and I say, and at the very same time, being aware that hundreds are dying, I am standing here healthy. I am standing here in a household full of healthy people. I am safe. I have food. My lights are on. My heat is on. My job is working. And I don't do that to say I'm better and I'm cool and I'm awesome. I do that to put that into this so-called collective grid pattern to prove to the collective that there's other choices out there, that we have the right to have the other side of the coin, that those of us that start to fill that grid pattern out there of the collective saying more and more, there is joy, I am fine, I am healthy, then like finds like again. But what we've done is we have filled this grid pattern with so much flippant fear, because it's programmed to do that, by the way, and we'll talk about that in a second. And we fell for the stupid programming, so now we're all sheep again. So what we want to do is we want to stand up to this and find some righteous justice in this and start to put into that collective grid pattern. There's a whole nother side to this, and many, many people are safe, and many people are okay, and many people are healthy, and many immune systems are working. It's not to validate and say I'm better, it's to show that there's two sides. And so like doesn't necessarily only move to like and find more of the same.
Okay. Yeah,
this is super important, super, super important. We want to put that pain out there, and we want to tell source energy that it really sucks to feel the sadness of many, many deaths, because we want that to move through our body. We don't want to die with that angst and that pain and actually activate more of it within my meat body and draw in more pain and angst and anger into me, because then I'm going to die with it all. And that's why we reincarnate and keep doing stupid karmic returns. What we want to do is we want to feel things and then move it through. Another form of prayer again, by the way, moving the energy through and out of my body and then finding the other side of the coin. Most of this stuff is being programmed to us through the collective in many, many ways. And this isn't to go down this conspiracy rabbit hole, but there is valid truths to a lot of the conspiracies of many out there want us to stay sick. They want us to stay in fear. They want us to be wanting the magic answer because they're the ones that are going to provide it. It's a loop system. They allow us to be fear-filled and sick because they're the ones that are going to bring in the so-called product or thing or magic answer or stimulus or money or the food or whatever. It's the loop process that keeps you in the system of enslavement.
Yeah,
so
that's
it's
so true.
really important. Yeah, it's really important to get out of that enslavement pattern.
That's kind of what we're waiting on now. I think you know, there's just so much obvious stuff that's going on. And
it's so bad.
Yeah, it's like the other day I was thinking, man, what do we need to do? We need to look at what are they trying to pass through Congress right now? What is the Pentagon doing? This kind of thing. Yep. And
what's going on the sidelines, because everybody's diverted over to the left.
Right,
what's going on? Yeah.
Sure enough, you know, one of our listeners sent me an article about, you know, they're pushing this 5G bill to get the networks up, and then the Pentagon's going to have this satellite grid system by the end of August. And I'm like, what? Look at all this stuff they're pushing through right now. And
don't even get me started on 5G as an energy practitioner, because I'm telling you that is just killing people in terms of energetic frequencies. Since, and I mean, nobody is aware of how much that crap went through with nobody knowing anything. I mean, it just is there. I mean, we're so ignorant to it all. And then they taunt you with, but everything's going to be faster and quicker in technology. Yeah, in the meantime, our bodies are getting killed. Our sinuses are dying. Our ears are killing us. Our bodies are hurting. Our bones are hurting. Everything is hurting because these frequencies are clashing with the frequencies of our true meat and bone. And we are not realizing how much we are being puppeted by this stuff. And it's really, really a big deal. And not a whole lot of people are talking about it. And it's pretty scary if you ask me from a practitioner standpoint.
Well, there was the doctor that came out, Dr. Seidel, that came out in New York and told everybody that, you know, people are having respiratory failure. He said this isn't not a pneumonia virus. He wanted to let everybody know that this is like ADRS, is acute or respiratory syndrome failure or something. I get the name mixed up. And then you know, you look in this other stuff, and it come to find out that there's certain frequencies that actually do annihilate the oxygen cells in your body, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And
but as a practitioner who does intuitive stuff, I'll go in and I'll actually go out of my body and do a lot of channeling with some people. And I, for the last year, kept saying, we don't have enough oxygen. There's not enough oxygen anywhere. There's not enough oxygen in our bodies, in our blood, in our actual earth itself. We don't have oxygen. There's no space in us. There's no space. And this is way before COVID even happened or 5G happened. And I kept saying these really odd, cryptic things like we don't have enough oxygen in our spaces and in our cell structure and in our fascia and in our actual makeup of our bodies, much less our auras. And then sure enough, it's just gone to hell since then because of all this stuff. So this is very serious stuff that is part of the reason we should be really taking personal responsibility during this COVID and starting to really examine what rabbit hole do I want to look in and how far do I want to go down and how far do I want to believe or not believe. And everybody needs to have their own personal responsibility in that. But for those that aren't even entertaining any of it, I would say shame on us, because this is exactly why we're in the situation we're in, is because most people are just content to be told what to do. And that really is a perpetuating trigger within us that ultimately says, I'm not safe, because I'm giving my safe to everything and everybody else all the time when I stay in that mindset.
Sounds familiar. I think we do that a lot with a lot of things, don't we?
Yeah.
We just give ourselves away, and I think we do it. It's got to be programs. It has to be.
It's hugely programmed, and it's done on purpose. Don't fool yourself. This has been happening for eons. This is nothing new. The human has been programmed since God knows when, pre-Egyptian Sumerian time, because this is the whole part of the process. But this, I'm going to tell you, is critically important to understand, not only for our life, but for our death. Because when we are laying on a methodical deathbed, and I say it that way because I teach it in the book methodically, because it's the easiest way to understand it. If I'm going step by step by step through the death process, the letting go of all of these fears we're talking about will be extremely difficult for the person who is dying. And if we get rid of these fears before we're laying in the deathbed, our death process is different. Our actual transition is smoother and quicker and easier. If we are terrified to leave people, to leave my company, to leave my house, to not have my power, to struggle because I've got to let go of my ego, all of these things will actually prohibit an easy death. And it's really important for us to learn that stuff, because it will also prohibit, by the way, an easy life. So again, live as if you're dying, because you will die as if you're living. So be very clear about that and do your work now, because this is important.
Man, well said. Yeah, very well said. It is. It's like I did that when I did radio, but I got to tell you that there was always that program down there inside too, saying, "Well, you need to go back to the picket fence model. You know, you got to."
Yeah.
I'm thinking, why? You know, this is my calling. This is what, you know what it's like. I mean, obviously you do. When you find out what your calling is and what you really want to do and what you're really passionate about, and it's life-changing. It doesn't matter really what all the other stuff. It just is life-changing. And
here's what you don't really get, Joe. If you really, really wanted the picket fence and were aligned with picket fence, you'd have it.
Yeah, right.
And when you stop arguing with your higher self and start being aware of your higher self, I mean, it's going, oh, if I really wanted that, I'd have that. So it cracks me up when people come in as a client and they go, oh, I really want this. And I'm like, no, you really don't, or you'd have it. So don't tell me that you wouldn't create that if you truly wanted it, because you will fight like hell for something that you truly believe in. This, again, is that justice card. You will fight for truth and justice and integrity if you really want it. And when we don't have it, I'm going to argue with you that there's a piece of you that really doesn't want it. So make friends with that, understand that, break that down, find out where the glitch in the system is, and then you maybe are going to bring in pieces of that in a different fashion, and then it's a win-win.
Oh, see, you've learned a lot. You're like my guru for the week, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been doing this a long time, and you know, it's so simple and easy that we try to convolute the hell out of it because we can't take easy. Humans want to make everything tough. This is what's called the crucifixion implant, by the way, that we have to suffer, that we have to make things really hard, that this has got to be difficult because then we've worked really hard and we can finally deserve it. And this is why everybody has the heart attack when they finally retire, because it's part of the programming. We don't know how to actually receive. It's really sad.
Yep. It's like you're preaching at me right now, because I get that. I swear. You know how when you used to go to church and you sit in the church, I don't know if you did, but I did when I was a kid, and you feel like the pastor's talking directly to you. You know, that kind of thing. It's like he's talking about me. He knows, man. He knows, you know. Yeah. And that's how I'm feeling right now. So I
actually was the opposite in church, and I would sit in church and all I do is look at everybody's auras. That was my practice room. I just didn't listen in church because my little head, even as a child in Catholic school, they would say, bow your head for God's blessing. And Suzanne's little, 8-year-old head would go boing the other way. And I'd go, nope, it's not supposed to go down. It's supposed to go up. I mean, I argued everything in Catholicism because even as a young child, my meat and bone body would go, nope, that's not right. Nope, I'm not going to do that. Nope. And I got in a lot of trouble for a lot of that stuff because I was so connected to my frequency, and I would hear words and I would hear things and I would go, no, no, no. And so I was told a lot of times throughout my life, and still do, by the way, you have no compassion. You just don't care. And it's not like I don't care. I actually have so much compassion, and I care so much that I don't care what you think, and I don't mean that meanly. I don't get to care what you think.
Yeah,
I don't have the right to care what you think. And so it's been quite a journey as this meat body, because I've had lots and lots of differences since day one, just because of the connection to the energy.
Yeah, so this is one of those things too, where be what you want in your life too, I think, and that's something I've learned too. Like I've learned it and then I don't learn it. I think, man, I'm learning all this stuff, but it's still like you get tested on everything that you learn. I really think that, like, oh yeah, like the universe is like, yeah, you learned this thing. Okay, well, we'll see. And I feel like that's what happens. But I think, I could be programming that too. And then I've just made myself cross-eyed analyzing everything. So,
but isn't it adorable that you just even said, then you get tested? Because I would toss back to you, who's testing you? It's only yourself.
That's right. Yeah. You're just doing it to yourself, right? So
you're doing it from a higher perspective because you haven't stopped and listened and you haven't connected. And so sometimes the universe will get really freaking loud. If you haven't heard a nudge and then you haven't heard the next nudge, then they will hit you over the head with the 2x4, because the theys are partially you. Partially is you from a higher perspective going, are you seriously not going to listen until we knock you over the head? So my, goal as a practitioner and working with people and myself as a human is to absolutely be present, because the signs are endless, because that's the great beauty of being here. We're co-creating everything. And so if we command presence, we can see those signs continually, and we can also command the signs. So it becomes a very big partnership in being present in reality when you start to get this stuff.
Now, earlier you mentioned, well, you know what? I want to take a break before I get into that, because you were talking about the death process, and that's something that I wanted to specifically ask while you were here, while we had you. So, but I'm going to wait, because it's break time. So we'll do the break first, and then that's what we'll talk about when we come back. If you got any questions, you know the call-in number, 1-800-588-0335, or you can hit us up in the Fringe FM chat. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Dan Lopez from Spiritual Warrior Today Radio, and you're listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Hi, this is David Oman with HouseAtTheEndOfTheDrive.com. You're listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM.
Do you want to know the truth? Are UFOs real? Are aliens visiting Earth? Are governments around the world hiding the biggest secret in history? We're UFO Seekers, official partner of the Fringe FM, and we're on a hunt for the truth. Join us as we investigate locations like Area 51 by subscribing on YouTube at youtube.com/UFO Seekers.
Hi, this is Kronox from Belgium, and you're listening to Lighting the Void with Joe Roop.
Hey, Fringe FM listeners. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or no Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of the Fringe FM by calling 701-719-3971. No smartphone app or internet needed. Saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Call 701-719-3971. That's 701-719-3971. Listen to the Fringe FM on any phone, anytime, anywhere.
Alex Exum.
This is Alex Exum of the Exum Experience in Live Talk, where we discuss current events, society, and culture. My shows are based in actuality, actual existence, contrasted with what was intended, expected, or believed. You can listen to me live Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays at 7 p.m. only on KTLK, The Fringe FM.
I'm getting older and noticing that my body just doesn't work as well as it used to. So I like to keep fit as possible by hitting the gym a few times a week. Recently, I started having a nagging bicep pain, and it got so bad I couldn't even lift the weights. When I was complaining about it to a friend, he told me about angioprim. He said chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in veins and arteries that may cause blockages. You know, after just 1 week of taking angioprim, the pain was gone, and now I'm back in the gym full strength. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. So to learn more more, go to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com. Or talk to a trained consultant. Call Angioprim toll free at 945-882-7221. You'll feel better with more energy. That's 945-882-7221. Or go to the website, angioprim.com.
This is Reverend John M. Polk, and you are listening to KTLK Digital Broadcasting right here on the Fringe.fm.
Welcome back to Lighting the Void. I'm your host, Joe Roop. We are here live with Suzanne Worthley. And I gotta say, you got some good energy. I don't know if that's a good compliment or if that's weird to say, but yeah, you do. You got some good energy. And I like...
Thanks. I've heard that a lot throughout my life. It kind of comes flying out of my mouth because when you're kind of get in alignment, stuff just moves through you. So thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. So I wanted to talk about the you're welcome. That's what I meant to say. I wanted to talk about the death process. You brought that up earlier. And when you say the process, are you talking about like the energetic process, or are you talking about the psychological process of what goes on, or all of it? Like, can you take us through that at all with some steps maybe, or is that too much to have?
Yeah, the way that I wrote the book, again, was kind of like bringing it through a hospice experience, meaning a more kind of like stretched out not long, but more methodical death, because I wanted to do it in a very kind of like a process way so people could understand it. That doesn't happen for everybody. We obviously have situations where we would have like an accident or something horrific or whatever, and the methodical 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 would not necessarily happen in that manner, but it does all play catch up regardless of how we die. So basically speaking, it has a lot to do with our energy centers and our chakra system and our auric fields. These are, again, what I would call, if we think of our human body as a vehicle of the God source, we picked a human meat and bone body vehicle. And when that vehicle is alive and going through an experience, it needs gasoline just like a car. So the gasoline comes into our so-called chakras, which is consciousness. It's fueling us. It's our life force energy. And these consciousness fuel destination points, I point out 7 of them in the body, and then there's a couple more that go beyond. And then the aura is what we would consider our gas tank that holds our gasoline. Now, when these are working and in synchronistic, our body and our lives move in a physical, emotional, and mental way in ease and grace. And when they don't, they dis-ease and they start to disease the body. So the chakra system is technically how we start to dis-ease and disease the body. And this is how we eventually die. So we are responsible in some terms the way that we die. And this is important for us to understand because we can change this while we're living. It's like the car that has bad gas or no gas, the car parts are going to stop and go chug chug and eventually die. Or if I have the crappy tank, it's not going to hold the gas and it's going to go chug chug and die. So these chakras, these energy points, are consciousness connections to creation itself. They ignite in birth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, month after month. And then they de-ignite in death in the reverse. So in birth, in the 3rd month in utero, we start by igniting our crown chakra on the top of our head, coming from source energy. And the next couple months through the 9th month of birth in the utero, we go all the way down to our root chakra, which connects us to the earth itself. So these 7 ignite in utero. When we die, they de-ignite the opposite way. They start to shut down and release the gas and dissipate the tank in a methodical order, if we're teaching it that way, starting with the root chakra, and they go in reverse up to the crown. So that I then start by releasing the planet. I release my emotions, my body, my relationships to others. I release my ego and my power. I release this whole entire plane of existence here, etc. And I start to transmute back up to source. So it's an incredible, cool, kind of like knowing that I came from source in utero and I'm returning to source in death. And it's a beautiful experience. So the way that I write it has the steps so that you can understand what the consciousness is that you're letting go of. That's why this book is good for anybody that's living also, because you will find you're dis-easing your consciousness in your body right now. So for example, if I have gut pain in my, in my guts and in my lower back, I can go to that consciousness book in death and find out why I'm having trouble even when I'm alive. So this is a great book for anybody is what I'm getting at. But when it comes to the death process, I give not only the consciousness understanding, the chakras and aura understanding, but I give actual tips in terms of what this person is having happen from a psychic perspective, what is happening to the aura, what's happening in a beautiful, wonderful way of things that we can't necessarily maybe see if we don't have these gifts, meaning the angelics coming in, the actual source energy in the room, what it looks like, who they're seeing, what they're hearing. And I'm giving those experiences because oftentimes people will be sitting vigil with somebody dying and they think that they saw something in the room or they experienced something and then they think they made it up. And this book oftentimes validates, oh my God, you really didn't make it up. That really was real. So there's a lot of really great healing that has happened with this book for many people that have lost people even maybe 10, 15 years ago and have been holding on to sadness or pain. And they all of a sudden go, oh my God, that really was real. So there's a lot of great stories that are coming out of people experiencing this book, even maybe years later with somebody having a death process. Wow. The other thing that's really important too is I give tips on how to take care of yourself during this time if you're helping and or what you can do to assist in this process. So it's got a lot of tips. It's like a guidebook.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I've never heard a detailed process like that before, like ever in my entire life. And
yeah, it's pretty phenomenal because it's very methodical. And again, if we have, sadly enough, a horrific situation where I do have like, something violent or I'm ripped out of my body, just because my body is dead in meat form, these processes will still go on in the energy parts of the body. And it's assisted by benevolence or helpers or guides or spirits or whatever. So these processes will still go on even in something horrific. So for all these people that are having a horrible separation from people dying of COVID. I can't get in there. My dad died. I'm so sad we weren't with them. There's parts in this book that tell you specifically that you don't have to be with Dad. Dad will know. Dad will be taken care of. These hints and these psychic experiences I share help people understand that Dad did not die alone. We don't die alone. There is always help for us. And so it can give solace and peace to people that are separated right now, because this is a really beautiful process, regardless of how it's going down. Even if we're having a horrific, awful, horrible death, there's beauty in it. And that's, I hope, what comes across in this book.
Wow, that's great. I got to get this book, man. You're like, I do. I got to get it. I'm not, my father used to tell me, he said, you just got this fascination with death. When it's your time to go, it's your time to go. You hear people tell you that? When it's your time to go, it's your time to go. Is that real? Do you believe that?
I do believe that in some respects, in terms of the soul, in my opinion, comes in with what we call a soul contract. And I explain all that in the book also. And in my contract, I do have my so-called exit plan. But it doesn't be to the extent of I am going to go from COVID on 4/10/2020. What I do say is I'm going to go at age 60 and I'm going to leave my, people that I came in with at this point in time, because I've contracted with maybe my daughter or my partner needs to understand that loss or understand whatever their issue came in with as a co-contract. So we will have those generalities to it. And then COVID gives me that so-called exit opportunity. Other things are, yes, I specifically came in to experience and have cancer because that's part of my contract. So there's no normal to any of this, and contracts can be adjusted and contracts can fluctuate. We can up our contract. We can oftentimes we will find loved ones die before the other one dies because they know that the one that's going to die eventually here is going to have a difficult time. So I actually exit first so that I can help that other person cross over. I mean, we have multitudes of scenarios that are unbelievable and miraculous in how these contracts can be shifted and changed. So nothing is in concrete, for example.
But what about that, because earlier we were saying that thing about relationships. What about the twin flame soul family stuff? What's real about that? I don't know. See, the twin flame thing I don't know about. You hear about that a lot. But I do know that there's such a thing as a soul family. For sure, because I meet people I know you,
Yeah, I'm a practitioner that doesn't play the twin flame thing. It's just not my thing. There's many people out there that believe in that, and so be it, and that's great, and that's their truth. For me, that one just, doesn't resonate at all. The soul pod, however, very much resonates. I was just saying to my mother tonight, who's 86 years old, and sometimes I still twist her head all up with all these conversations, and I said, very much I have aligned in the last just couple months. In fact, even just doing a radio interview recently with someone who very much says, I've known you on another plane. It's that knowing. I just know you. I know everything about you. Our lives are synchronistic. There's a knowing of commonality, et cetera, et cetera. And that to me is not a twin flame. That's a soul. That's a soul that I've known. That's a soul contract from another life. And I experienced that a lot. Twin flame, that just doesn't resonate for me. And again, that's just verbiage for me. But soul pods, reincarnations with lifetimes, coming back with many lifetimes, many of my clients, I can know right out of the gate, you were the mom last time and she was the daughter last time. And we will see in this lifetime angst with that oftentimes because we don't necessarily own our role in this lifetime. So we can have trouble with some of that soul contracts even in our 3D life now. So yeah, these are all really real things in my opinion.
Well, I've experienced that too. I think a lot of people have, and it's you get confused as to what to do when these type of things happen. Have I done this before? You get that deja vu feeling too. Like I've done this before.
Yeah. Well, I think my suggestion, again, as a practitioner is be very clear when you're doing anything with past life that you want to pull that boundary in that this is the incarnation of Joe in this lifetime. And if I am reading too much of that past life into this life, I want to do some energy work with a practitioner that's very good to remove those tentacles and cords, because what we want to do with a past life is almost treat it like a read-only PDF. I only want to read only PDF. I don't want the emotion. I don't want the physicality. I don't want all of that other stuff, because I've worked on very many people who have done past life regressions with poor therapists or poor practitioners, and they end up in my office undoing the work that the person did to activate that file, meaning, I found out I was a cowboy and I got stabbed in the back with a hatchet. Well, now I've had this pain in my back for 3 weeks. That's ridiculous energy work. Don't do that,
Right,
read only file.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, that's because, that is insane, man. I've read this book, Journey of Souls by Michael Newton. Have you read that book?
I don't know if I've read that one. I'm not sure. I've read so many. I don't know.
It would probably go right along with a lot of the stuff that you're saying too. But then again, I think that we should also answer the call when we're being called, because I've fought that before too. Like, are you being called to have a certain person? Are you being called to do this in your life? Are you being called, and we don't listen. The only thing I've ever listened to that voice in is doing what I do now. Everything else I've kind of kind of hesitated a little bit. But if we don't listen, I think it just makes things kind of harder on us. And we're kind of coming full circle back to what we talked about in the beginning here, is that a lot of people are being called in a lot of ways. I talked to some people in our chat room too, and they're all going through transitions. It's some heavy stuff too. It's not just normal stuff. People are reevaluating what they want to do with their lives, who they are, identity stuff. It's big time stuff here.
Well, that's what this ascension process is. This ascension process is what we call the dark night of the soul. And dark night of the soul, usually in human form, feels like shit hits the fan. Everything in my life goes to hell in one big fell swoop, from my relationship to my job to my body to my kids to my... That's what it feels like, because it's a metaphoric death. It's a metaphoric death for me to rebirth. That's what the ascension process is. So in terms of the big picture, however, we are also at a tipping point where it may not be so metaphoric, that we have to, as individuals, go through these metaphoric dark nights of the soul so that our planetary system and cosmos and humanity as a whole does not go through a real death, meaning we lose our planetary system, we lose our freedom, we lose our whatever. So this is a very real thing and metaphoric at the same time. So we need to understand when things go to hell in a handbasket, that is really important for us to go, oh, I'm not just, this is something for me to crawl in my bed and not do. This is like, oh, bring it on, because when I get through this, I am free of all of the old garbage that no longer serves me. Yeah. And it's not fun work. Don't get me wrong. It isn't thrilling. Not everybody wants to go, oh, dark night of the soul. But it does offer you the freedom of the opportunity to realize that you were free all along. It's kind of the Dorothy syndrome. You always had the slippers on all along. You just didn't know it. You know, you got to figure out that you've had the freedom, like, you know, the Wizard of Oz all the time. You didn't need the big clanging guy. You just needed the shoes on your little feet there, girl. You always had them. And so it's understanding that freedom is right there. But we normally, as humans, make it really messy. So therefore, we take that dive, which in reality is not a bad thing, because then we start to learn that death is not real.
Wow. Well, so in your book, too, you talk about some of the stuff that a dying person may see and experience and what to watch for in each stage. I had a psychic come on the show and talk, you know, he said my grandmother was talking to me and stuff. Now, I don't know that he wasn't looking up names, but it sounded, based on what he was saying, like it was a real reading. And telling me that they were telling me that they're going to be there when I pass away. And I felt like a lot of comfort thinking about that. But we're not alone. I think that's what people are afraid of, because they feel like no matter who's there, that they're going to be alone in this process. And maybe you are in the physical realm, but what happens? Are there people waiting on you? Do people talk about this to you?
Yeah, very much. And as, a psychic practitioner, I have had numerous amounts of times where I've been in the hospital room, and I, as a hospice volunteer person, am not privy to any medical files. And yet many, many times I'm like, you know, Grandpa Joe is at the left-hand side of the bed down there waiting, you know, to bring, you know, to support this. And Joe is the paternal grandfather of this person in the bed. You know, I'll say all kinds of things like that. And I don't have any access to knowing if there even is a Joe. And I've had multiple situations where, and it's not about, oh, I'm right, but it's just proves that, yeah, that is true. I mean, those people are there, and they are absolutely at our bedside and absolutely available for us. And not just humans, by the way. Angelics are there, animals are there, all kinds of things are there. And this help is omnipresent and there. Now, at the very same time, however, I want you to really understand our belief systems create our reality. So if I believe that nobody's going to be there because I'm a horrible and awful person, those beings will be there, but my creational reality won't connect to that. So therefore, I don't necessarily experience that because my belief system drives it. So be very clear about what you want to open your heart to, and expect all of those beauty and wonderful things, because in omnipresence, they are there. But you want to draw in that law of attraction of like finding like, meaning you bring it forward. You're orchestrating your actual death experience. That's why it's important for us to understand, if I'm not with somebody, oh my God, I didn't make it, I feel so bad, I wasn't there to support that. None of that matters, because it just doesn't matter. If you weren't there, you weren't supposed to be there, because that doesn't mean you weren't good enough to be there. It just means you weren't supposed to be there, and it's okay. So we need to release all of that guilt too, because I drove like hell to the hospital and I couldn't get there on time, and I've held that guilt forever. You weren't supposed to be there. And so that means I can find my grandmother in another way, or my dad is already talking to me in my car as I'm driving, because this omnipresence thing is something that we need to understand. It's open. We're already moving these energies, and I don't have to have that face-to-face thing. This is a guilt thing that we hold because I'm the one that wanted to be there. I'm the one that felt I should be there, not the person who's in the bed necessarily, if that makes some sense.
Yeah, it does. It makes a lot of sense. And I think it's funny too, because when we did the out of body stuff, we talked about that. Robert Monroe in his book talked about how he would run into people that died that didn't know they were dead. Like,
oh yeah,
the transition would happen so fast they wouldn't realize that they were dead, and
yep,
they had a bit of a hard time with it, or would just still deny it and kind of get, I don't want to say trapped, but let's just say in denial for a while.
Well, they're in limbo. They're in limbo because there's a lot of reasons, and this is another reason why we need to read books like this. We need to understand, yes, we do die, and yes, we do go somewhere, and that somewhere is a place of consciousness. And that consciousness container can be, oh, heaven with rainbows and bunnies running around, but reality-wise, it's a consciousness container. So yes, we do go to what we would consider some place. And so this is important for us because when we do die, we want to know that, yes, I am going somewhere. And it's important for me to believe in that so that my actual auric body does transition fully there. Now, that said, there's a lot of benevolent help and or psychic help or people like me. They'll find me. I have very many disembodied, entities or energies that I help untrap or move forward a lot. I mean, I've done that for years and years and years. So hopefully, eventually, they do find assistance no matter what realm they're in. But this is important to understand that we educate people that, yes, there is a movement towards source.
Wow. Cool. Fantastic. Well, your book is out now. I think everybody should get this book. I can't wait to get it. The book, it talks about the 9 energetic levels of dying and what's happening during each stage, which you kind of went over that, and how our belief system and energy clocks can affect the death process. And it also talks about what we just discussed, what people might see, the grieving process.
And the case studies are just awesome. There's a case study with every single one of them, and they're pretty awesome, if I say so myself, because they were my top interesting ones, that's for sure. So
you think that this is something that we should look at? I mean, if you look at, I don't know if you follow astrology or not, but I mean, the Pluto's kind of doing its thing, trying to get everybody to look at that too. If it's not transition, or if it's not the dark night of the soul, or if it's not some deep-seated thing, it's also trying to get us to embrace death, I think, too, and kind of understand that it's a part of the cycle, in all things. And it's so scary. But I think once we realize that it's a part of the cycle and kind of study it the way you are, which I admire, because a lot of people just don't want to, they're afraid of it. They don't want to do what you're doing. But because you're doing what you're doing, I think it's going to give a lot of comfort to people, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, and it's a really weird time to launch a book on death when we're in the middle of a pandemic. On the other hand, it's exactly the right time to launch a book on death, because this is a really important time for us to not fear the death, to understand the death. And if we do lose someone, we don't have to have that same level of grief. And I talk a lot about grief, so it's important.
I don't want to. Here's the thing, though. And this is the last thing I'll talk to you about before we let you go here, because I don't want to, I feel like, at least, I don't want to leave this world, forget who I am, come back, be washed up on the shore like a lost whale or something again, and try to figure all this out again. I'd like to be able to progress in a certain way, like, oh yeah, I know why I'm here, that kind of thing. But do you ever get any hints of that, like with the work that you do? Oh
my God, that's exactly why we're here. We see this recycle program that we have been trapped in and duped on is the big lie. We are not meant to be here to keep recycling and karmic return. Karma was created by us because we're foolish and we don't clear our contracts and go back to source with a higher frequency. This process we're going through right now is the opportunity to do that and not come back and keep playing the same game over and over and over, because there's a whole multi-universal creational reality out there with other stuff to do on a really beautiful, joyful level. So we need to break this pattern, and that's what this opportunity is about right now. So that, you got it. I mean, clear your stuff up now, die at a higher frequency, and go do some cooler stuff.
That's the easiest way, though, to die at a higher frequency. Isn't it just, I'd like to believe that it's just as simple as, just choosing love and just about everything that you can and follow.
Again, so easy, so easy. All it is about get rid of your fear and find the love. And it's so flippin' easy, we make it hard. So, surrender to how easy this can be and find the joy and find the bliss. and just keep doing the work to dump the fear and dump the programming. That's really the whole key. So, live as if you're dying, because you're going to die as if you're living, like I say.
That's so
Super
cool.
important. Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on the broadcast, and I hope that everybody goes out and grabs this book, An Energy Healer's Book of Dying. That's a pretty cool name, An Energy Healer's Book of Dying for Caregivers and Those in Transition, by Suzanne Worthley.
I really, really appreciate you bringing this forward, especially at this time. I applaud the courage to have the subject on, and you've got a lot of great listeners out there, I think, that can jump into this and take some power back. So I appreciate the opportunity to share.
Yeah, it's not a problem at all, and maybe we can have you back one day, because this has been a really cool discussion. Thank you so much.
All righty.
All right, guys, we'll be right back. We'll put the links in the chat room with some final thoughts before we get out of here tonight. Stay with us. Wow, that was
in your face, all over the place. We're online 24/7. You're listening to the hottest internet station.
Listen, I want to tell you about G.I. Joy from GetTheTea.com. It's the best alchemical concoction of goodies for your stomach and digestive system I can recommend, and that's all based on my experience. Packed with colostrum, acidophilus, aloe, peppermint, and turmeric. If you do your own research, then you know this is the bee's knees for the stomach and digestion. Now, due to Big Brother's ears and the eye in the sky, I can't go into the details about what it helped me with. All I can say is I got relief. It's non-GMO, no fillers, no preservatives, manufactured right here in the US of A, and delivered to you by the only people who stay on top of the game and are out in front. Go grab a bottle of G.I. Joy at GetTheTea.com and see what all the fuss is about. Again, that's GetTheTea.com.
Hi, this is Aaron Hunter, host of Real Paranormal Activity, the podcast where we tell real paranormal experiences of people from around the world. And we also conduct interviews with authors, investigators, psychics, and mediums. Real people, real stories, real fear. Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern on the Fringe FM. See you then.
My name is Jake. I'm from Billings, Montana, and I am a void walker.
Hey, Joe Root. Thanks for lighting the void. This is Janine in the bluegrass of Kentucky, and I am a void walker.
What's up, guys? This is Damien from San Marcos, Texas, and I'm a void walker. I listen to the show to keep myself aligned with the world.
Hi, this is Laura, a.k.a. Laura Lavender. I'm from Las Vegas, and I listen to Lighting the Void because it helps me understand some of the strangest experiences I've had. So thanks for all that you do and for always being there for us, Joe.
Ever seen an extraterrestrial? It can be hard to believe they exist unless you've seen one for yourself. What if I told you I've seen them my whole life, but have never had a witness who shared the encounter with me? Now, what if I told you I saw 4 of them, 2 with blue skin, and there are over 20 witnesses to this CE5 event? My new book, The Blue Beings, Visitation at the UFO Conference, documents actual accounts from real witnesses, many of which have gone on record to attest to this otherworldly reality. Be a part of a quantum paradigm shift that is taking place right now. Go to johnpolkmedia.com to get your copy of The Blue Beings, Visitation at the UFO Conference, on sale right now at johnpolkmedia.com. That's JOHNPOLK media.com.
Well, it's kind of not a subject I don't think a lot of people would really want to talk about during this time, but I think that it's important that we talk about death and transition during this time, because it's a thing that scares a lot of people. Even if you get a tarot reading and somebody pulls a death card on you, you think, well, I'm going to die. But really, death is just, it's in nature. It's in everything. We see it in the seasons. We see it in everything. And to embrace it is not, I guess I'm understanding on my path. And I hope some of you are with me here. It's not a bad thing. It's not something to be afraid of. And I'm not trying to call upon my own death or anything like that. But it's something that we got to accept. And the more you fight it, the more it just tears you up. And right now, with all of the planets and their transits and what's going on, and Pluto in Capricorn and Jupiter in Capricorn and South Node in Capricorn, there's some big time changes going on. Then you got Saturn in Aquarius and Mars in Aquarius doing all of the stuff to push forward into this new life and to go. But it's a little battle going on here. It's a little battle going on inside most of us, and I can tell you that it's going on inside me too, because I'm an Aries, and I think Chiron's been an Aries for a while. But I look at all this stuff and all these energies, and I think, and it does. I can tell you, if I didn't talk to you on the radio or maybe talk to a couple of friends, I would feel totally alone as I'm going through these things. But you're not. You're like Michael Jackson talking about you and not alone. But you're not. There's a lot of people out here going through a lot of stuff. And, you just reach out and just kind of vent and find somebody that you can confide in and vent to them, Of course, don't confide in the people that want to try to fix you all the time. Sometimes people just, need to be heard. And get some decent advice, even advice that you may not want to hear. Because this too shall pass. That's an old saying, right? It's almost embarrassing to say it. I feel like I sound like an old hoagie or something. But this too shall pass. And life's full of up and downs and roller coasters and stuff. And the best way to stay in the fun part of it is through love. Now, I'm not talking about this to try to be a teacher or a guru or anything like that. I'm talking about this because I'm battling it myself. And it's obvious to me after going through this for like 2 or 3 weeks now, that every time I choose love, happiness, laughter, anything like that, everything it's like the smoothest boat ride possible. And the second something comes into our mind that makes us fear, doubt, worry, a funny thing happens. And I don't know if it happens to everybody, but it does me. An obsession of that thought starts to happen. And I feel like these thought forms, like Daskalos talks about, I feel like these thought forms are exactly what they want. That's what it wants you to do. It wants you to feed into it and keep thinking it. Replay the stuff over and over in your mind. Because these energies, they need your energy. They need your emotion. They need your thoughts. They need your focus. They need all of this stuff so that they can stay alive. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I would highly suggest that you pick up a book called The Magus of Strovolos, or any book by Dr. Stylianos Ateslis or Daniel Joseph, Swimming with the Whale. We're doing a lot of different stuff on the Fringe FM, and we're trying to get it. It's in a transition phase too, believe it or not. And so is the website. It's not like Lighting the Void is not, but some of the stuff that I'm going to be doing for the listeners is changing. So we can get some more support and so we can have more fun with the show, things like that. And I can tell you that the only thing I guess I could give you some real advice to make you feel better, to ease the nerves inside of you as you're going through all this stuff, is like, don't just sit on your ass like I did and just get all this stuff just whirling around in your head. Just move towards what you're being called to move towards, even if you don't know how to do it. Like, even if you don't know what you're doing or why you're doing it. And don't beat yourself up if something don't make sense as you're doing it. Like, I know I'm supposed to be doing stuff today, but I'm going to eat some, Rocky Road ice cream. Well, I'm not supposed to do that. I'm supposed to be doing this. No, you're supposed to be doing that. But you're easing yourself into it. Somebody really special to me told me that. They said, when you go swimming, some people like to just jump in the water and get it over with. That's what I do. Somebody says, is it cold? Yeah, it's cold, man. Just jump in and get it over with. You'll get used to it. That's what I do. But other people, they'd like to dip their toes in and kind of ease in the water. And then they got all the people that jumped in, making it harder on them because they're like, just jump in, man. What are you doing? And you're just making it harder on those people. Just let them do their thing. Let them take their time. Let them figure it out. I think that's what we got to do. We just got to let everybody do their own thing. You do your thing, but just be there for support. Be there for the transitions. And by God, keep those dream journals going. I want to hear what you guys have been doing. Most of you are really true, like void walkers. You're really doing things, exploring your consciousness, you know, in ways that I haven't even imagined. I know Afi has called in and talked about some crazy stuff he was doing with a mirror. Excuse me. And I've been going through stuff myself and then trying to work at the same time, trying to get things done. And so I do this thing to where I might do a 2-hour show and get out of here. But I didn't want to get out of here before I tell you all that I do love you and that you're my family. You guys are my family. I've been pulled to do changes in my life. I'm not going to lie to you. I've even thought about, like, why am I doing this? Should I keep doing the show? Should I keep doing the station? Really just trying to reevaluate all the stuff in my head. And I don't know if I've got the answer yet, but I can tell you that every time I think about leaving the show or leaving the station or anything like that, the answer just hits me like a ton of bricks. And the answer is no, you got to stay. And so even though sometimes I dream about a nice life with a white picket fence, I kind of already have a family. And, you know, I used to laugh at folks for saying that. I used to laugh at people that said, oh, like they're calling their audience a family. It's a marketing trick. But it's not a marketing trick when you realize that a family is just people that love each other unconditionally. It's a place that you can go to escape the burdens of the world no matter what. That's what it should be to me. That's what a home is and a family is to me. A place where no matter how crazy things are going in the world, there's this sanctuary that you can go to and relax for a little bit and talk to people without having to worry about being judged, without having to worry about expectations or anything, and dive into your passions and your biggest questions. And I think that's what we're doing here. So I'm hoping that once we all get out of this funk and I get out of my funk and we figure this out, that this new transition that we go into is just going to be something so much better. And I got a really good feeling that it will be. I want to thank Pacho for making this show happen tonight. I also want to thank everybody at the Fringe FM, Barbara, Amanda, Jeremy Scott, Eric Markham, love you, brother, wherever you are out there. Eric's working hardcore on the COVID-19 stuff. I know he's been working his butt off. Also, Dennis and Don, all you guys in the Fringe FM chat. The music here is by Stevie, and also Chronox is the main drag music there. Chronox from Belgium. And please don't copy the show without written permission, especially on YouTube. We'll see you guys tomorrow night for Open Lines. Love each and every one of you. We're going to get out here early so we can catch up on what we need to catch up on. See you tomorrow night. Good night.